Mr. Gheorghiu, so we are in the year 1961 at the World Championship for under 20.
Yeah, Junior World Championship. Yes.
Okay, and we'll see a game from there, right, with Kinnmark?
With Kinnmark, yeah. This was probably the most beautiful game that I played in this World Championship, but most probably, the most beautiful for the whole tournament, in my opinion.
You like it the most?
Yes, it's very beautiful game. You'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see then. So D4, you play with white?
I play with white. D4, knight f6, c4, e6. Now I played the knight f3 instead of knight c3. Knight c3 leads to a Nimzovich position. A knight f3 is another game, completely different, but also very important theoretically. You'll see.
So I see here the commentary on my software is saying black avoids the Meran. Do you know what that means?
No, the Meran comes later on. This is different, yes. No. This is the machine commented like this, no?
Yes.
No, it's different. Meran comes from another opening, not from here. This is the so-called, this is avoiding knight f3, avoids the Nimzovich position, The Nimzovich position comes after knight c3, bishop b4, instead of knight f3, yes.
Okay.
For knight f3, bishop b4 check, and now instead of knight bd2, that was very popular in this year, another possibility is bishop d2. It's more quiet, but gives also very small edge for white, Bishop d2 instead of knight bd2. Okay, knight bd2, d5, e3, castle, queen c2.
So
well, white is a little bit better now. You see, white threatens to come later on with bishop d3, castle, and then a3, e4, and so on. A small edge for white in all positions.
So what is the idea here for white usually?
White is developing quietly the pieces. White wants to come with the bishop from f1 to d3, then castle. And afterwards, a3, b4, and so on. Small initiative for white, bishop b2 or e4. There's some ideas.
More steps to initiative.
Little by little, white is always a little bit better, More space and so on. Yes.
And the idea for black?
Well, black has to try to, to compensate this small advantage of his opponent by playing normally, some sharp game. But in our game here, black plays more quietly, and that leads always to
an advantage for white.
Advantage for white, he's waiting to see what happens.
So you should
in the next moves.
More aggressively or more.
Well, if it's possible,
sharply.
But it's very difficult to say how. The idea is maybe to take later on quickly on c4 and try to play b6, bishop a6, or bishop b7. But that leads also to a small advantage for white because white has a better center, always. If you take somehow on c4, later on white has the possibility to push the e3, e4 pawn, and then always the position is a little bit better. It's a little bit better for white.
Okay.
So c6. Now it's almost clear that black is waiting to see what happens later on, He accepts the fact that white is a little bit better and tries to compensate this by having some counterplay later on in the game,
Okay, so
C6.
black accepts the...
C6 is a little bit passive, for black, a little bit. Yeah. Bishop d3, knight bd7, now castle, okay. Now castle. Now he changes the idea, comes back with the bishop to d6, trying to play later on the move e5, if it's possible, in good position. But it's not so clear because white plays first here, and he pushes first e4. Therefore, white is always a little bit better.
Okay.
Now, if you take to c4, then if he plays in c4, is already bad for black. Is almost bad enough, let's say. Because taking in c4, knight takes c4, bishop has to go away, and then simply e5 attacks the knight from f6, and you lose the pawn from a7, and the game is finished. normally, So you have to be very careful with black already in his position. So you have to take in e4, not in c4, you see. You must take in e4. Okay? Knight takes, bishop takes. Well, it is the first important moment. Now, if black plays normally knight f6, after bishop d3, white is always a little bit better, pushes later on b3, bishop b2, advantage, space advantage for white. Rook d1, rook e1, and controls the center, and white is better.
So white has a lot of space to move
a lot
his
of
pieces.
Space, yes. He's trying to, to come later on, not immediately, but later on, white is always, has some advantage, tactically.
But white, what is going to...
Well, you see, in our game, we play the way I explained, and later on, black has always some problems because he has lack of space, White has always more space and more tactical possibilities. In our game, it happened like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So he played h6 to have the possibility to move the knight on the other side, like in our game. But it's not enough to have an equal game, equality. Yeah.
Okay.
e5. Finally, he could do it, So now, bishop b2 takes...
So you centralize your pieces.
Yeah, it has to take. Well, look, now it's clear. White has more space. Therefore, he's always better, Yeah. Knight c5. That was the idea for black, to play the knight on the other side, more active, But it's not enough. Because now comes bishop h7 check, yeah? Yeah, and now rook d1. Well, you have the immediate threat to take in c5. Of course, black could see it, and he plays, the normal move, queen c7. Yeah, h3.
Just a second. So you say here...
Here is already the threat to take in c5. And you lose
c5.
a piece.
Okay, on c5, yes, because it's...
it's pinned, So you have to move away the queen.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, queen c7. Now the important move for white, h3, avoiding bishop c8 to g4. Now it's not more possible, to play to g4.
Not to pin the knight, and also...
He has to find some counterplay, but it's very difficult already because lack of space, the way I told you before. So here he played a5. It looks, this is the good idea to have finally some counterplay on the other side. So, bishop b2. 96 and bishop f5. A good move again.
Why?
Because on h7 the bishop for the moment is untouchable, but is attacked, from the king from h8 attacks already the bishop from h7. So you have the same threats, but the bishop is safe on f5. So later on you'll see this is very important.
So you mean...
now you have already a very nice attacking position for white. Yes. You see, you control both diagonals, the black diagonal to h8, the white diagonal, later on we'll see why and how. And you come up also later on with the rook from f1 to e1. And you control the e line also. That will be decisive finally.
All the roots.
Yeah. The rooks are already in center. Okay, b5. He hopes to change to trade some pieces. If white takes in b5, but that's you never take to b5 to trade queens. Of course, you have a better position now. So rook e1, yeah, and finally he pushed the pawn to b4. It seems he has some space on the queen side. But it's also, only an idea, an impression, He controls nothing, black here. He has to wait again, So...
why he didn't took
Well, he could take in c4, but even if you take back with the queen, it's also very good for white, because you have another weakness on c6. The pawn from c6 is weak,
Yeah.
And later on, you could come with the queen to g4, attacking immediately in e6 and g7. Also very unpleasant for black, So now knight e5, the last piece comes on the better position, in e5 the knight is, has an excellent position, and you prepare the next combination. We will see, very, very beautiful combination, knight c5. And now we have the position. If black could somehow trade 1-2 pieces, more or less the position is not okay, but not so dangerous. But white moves here, and as I told you before, we prepared the next combination, which is decisive. In a few moves, the black position, is destroyed. You'll see, and everything is forced.
Okay, let's see.
Rook take this is the first sacrifice. Well, it's very easy to see why and how. Now he's forced to take, because if he takes first to f5, you have the move rook takes h6 check and queen f5, and the attack is crashing.
Say again. So
if he takes now to f5,
yes,
bishop takes f5.
Yes,
you have in between rook takes h6 check, takes in h6, queen takes f5, and the attack is terrible. He's completely lost. So because on the diagonal the attack is crashing.
Because of the black bishop, right?
Yes, the king from h8 has no defense at all. Yeah. So okay, he's forced to take in d6. Okay, this was the first sacrifice. Now we come with the second sacrifice. Knight takes f7 check. Now again, he's forced to take. Yeah, you have to take. Yeah. Now we are rook down with white, but the position is completely lost for black. Rook e8 check. Now he played queen f8. Why? If he plays the normal move, rook f8. Yeah? Yes. Rook f8 instead of queen f8. What happens after rook f8? That now comes the surprise, the very big surprise, very nasty surprise. Queen d2. Queen d2. You sacrifice the queen. If he takes in d2, is mate on f8.
Yes.
If he takes in f8, you lose the queen, and then the attack continues. He's mate with queen h6 check. And finished.
So if he takes here, is
rook f8 mate.
Yes.
In one move. Yeah. And you have no moves here. What can you do? You lose at least, queen against rook, and the attack continues. He's almost mate in every move. Yeah.
So this is
now
why
the diagonal is terrible. So he played queen f8, the last hope. So now you take, and again queen d2, decisive. Now it's the same threat. Queen takes h6 and mate. After bishop takes f5, for instance, queen h6 check, bishop h7, queen takes g7 mate. Forced. So the only move, king g8. And now decisive again, queen d4. Threatens mate in g7 now.
Yes.
Again, the only move. And now you lose a piece. Takes in c8, takes forced, and queen takes c5. Well.
So here it was like that.
Yeah.
So you take there first.
Yes.
And
take and, yeah. Now you have queen and bishop against two rooks. This is completely winning for white. Yeah. He played rook there, bishop d4, and resigned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a very beautiful game, and the combination was forced. I mean, the sacrifice that come one after another, and everything is forced. Black has no defense at all. Yeah. So it was very, very nice, nicely prepared, and everything was played by a human, not like a machine from today.
Yes. And it was only one direction, so
you could
black
see
had no chance, no counter-attack, nothing.
Because of lack of space for black, white had the possibility to put the pieces in every place he wanted, preparing the sacrifices that came later on, and finally, they could finish beautifully the game like this, in a very nice way. Yeah.
Great.
The game was considered the most beautiful of the whole tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.